you hear the news? WNBA's top player ratings just got released, and it's bound to go down as the worst ranking in the league's history. That's right, guys. The WNBA media is once again throwing shade at Caitlin Clark, and the veteran analyst Rachel Demita is having none of it.
Bleacher Report just released their top 20 WNBA player rankings ahead of the 2025 season. So who's in the top 5? Number 1, A'ja Wilson. Number 2, Napheesa Collier. Number 3, Breanna Stewart. Number 4, Alyssa Thomas. And number 5, Caitlin Clark.
Bleacher Report just dropped their top 20 WNBA players list, and it's wild because they completely ignored Caitlin Clark and her achievements in the last season and ended up putting her at the number 5 spot. I mean, this is absolutely unbelievable. The legacy media is once again trying their hardest to tarnish Clark's reputation and accomplishments, but Rachel isn't buying it all. She's bringing the receipts to completely expose this so-called rating.
Let's talk about this top 5 because I don't love it. As you can probably guess, I don't love it. Caitlin Clark at 5 is crazy to me, and it's crazy to me just off the rip because if we look at the MVP voting from last season, she was number 4 in MVP voting. It was A'ja, Napheesa, Breanna, and then Caitlin. I don't know how she slides down into the number 5 spot, especially behind Alyssa Thomas.
That's correct. Rachel is rightly stating that Caitlin Clark was number 4 in the MVP rankings last year, but now she suddenly slips down to 5th position. That makes absolutely no sense, especially when you consider that Clark is ranked below Alyssa Thomas, who had a pretty mediocre last season. Anyone who thinks Alyssa Thomas is better than Caitlin in any sense doesn't know basketball or is just a straight up hater.
Nonetheless, the conversations around Caitlin Clark are reminiscent of crash outs, very often completely out of proportion to the reality of this point, but it is strange to see them continue with such passion, and really all they are is an indication of Caitlin Clark's motion and popularity.
This whole idea that Clark isn't better than your top 5 is pretty pathetic. What they're really saying is she doesn't fit their narrative because the truth is she's got it all. Speed, strength, insane hand-eye coordination, and let's not forget, an absolute cannon for an arm. Her athleticism isn't just good, it's next level, and that's exactly why she dominates the way she does.
Alyssa Thomas is a veteran getting older in this league, and Caitlin Clark is only going into her 2nd season. She is also not coming off of a college season. She essentially played an NBA season last year, the amount of games that she played. She has had an entire offseason to get stronger, to get ready for the 2nd WNBA season. She was getting double and triple teamed last season, face guarded, on here, and she was still in the top 4 of MVP voting and still broke so many records as a rookie.
Caitlin Clark at number 5, behind Alyssa Thomas. Nope, someone's got to run those numbers again because this ranking ain't making sense. No shade to Alyssa, she's a vet, but let's be real, she's not getting any younger. Meanwhile, Clark is just getting started, heading into her 2nd WNBA season stronger, smarter, and even more dangerous. She wasn't just holding her own, she was flat out taking over. Now she's had a whole offseason to level up, fine-tune her game, and lock in with her teammates, which only means disaster for her opponents.
Caitlin Clark has really made a point to change her appearance and put on some mass and put on some real muscle. And let's be real here. She got the crap kicked out of her last year. She got physically mauled at times. All right, now she may be thinking, look, if they're not going to call these flagrant fouls and they're going to let everybody in the league beat the crap out of me, I better do something to put on some mass to protect myself.
Last season, she was getting face guarded, double, triple teamed, and she still finished top 4 in MVP voting. So seriously, why is she slipping in the rankings? What else does she have to prove? If we're talking real impact and what's coming next season, Clark should be moving up the list, not dropping down.
So let's talk about why they put her at number 5. The writer says Clark was also somewhat tough to slot. Having a rookie ahead of multiple champions and MVPs feels like a case of too much too soon, and there aren't court quibbles to poke at. The turnover numbers, I knew this was coming. Though explainable with coverage and degree of difficulty, context are still a lot. There is certainly growth needed defensively, particularly off the ball.
All right, let's get real about why they actually put Clark at number 5. The writer claims she was tough to slot because apparently ranking a rookie ahead of multiple champs and MVPs feels premature. And let's be real, half of Caitlin's turnovers weren't even her fault. A lot of them happened simply because her teammates couldn't catch her passes. She wasn't the problem, they were. Clark's passing is so precise, so next level that it actually exposed her teammates' inability to keep up. She didn't have to raise her game. She had to tone it down just to make sure the ball didn't end up in the bleachers.
As much as people harp on Caitlin about turnovers and not having any rings, I just want to take this mic and bang it against my head if I hear someone else say that she hasn't won anything and that's why we can't label her as great. So LeBron goes in the league his first season and doesn't win an NBA title, and all of a sudden he can't be top 5.
I totally agree with you, Rachel, because their logic is completely ridiculous. Clark is already proving she's elite, and before long, even the loudest doubters won't have a leg to stand on.
There is no one like Caitlin Clark in the history of the WNBA.
And yet, despite all adversity, she still put up historic numbers. But sure, let's harp on the turnovers like they weren't a direct result of her carrying an entire offense on her back.
Do this in any other sport, and we especially don't do it in basketball. We do not rank NBA players based on if they won in college or how many titles they had.
The whole no rings thing, please. She just wrapped up her rookie season. Did anyone actually expect her to roll into the league and win a championship by herself on day 1? Meanwhile, plenty of veteran stars are still chasing rings and nobody holds it against them.
Maybe you get there at that point, but we do not do this, especially in their first year. So the fact that they're putting her at 5 just because other people have won championships is just a cop-out, in my personal opinion.
Absolutely correct. All of these points against Clark have no basis in reality and feel more like excuses. Rachel's not pulling any punches here and loudly proclaiming that these ratings are a miserable cop-out. Because let's be honest, if I stayed on the bench and won a ring, does that mean I'm a better player than Caitlin Clark? Winning an NCAA ring is a team effort and not an individual achievement. And coaches always say there is no I in team.
I think that championships are definitely a team recognition. They are something that a team does together and accomplish as a player. And when you are ranking players, you are ranking them as an individual unit rather than a team.
Let's be real, Caitlin has been making waves since her college days, and she's easily in the top 3, if not the best WNBA athlete right now.
There's only one person, 2 people actually, 2 people in the top 5 who played during the offseason in Unrivaled, and that's Breanna Stewart and Nafisa Collier. And if you're going by that, Breanna Stewart actually didn't do as well as a lot of people were expecting in Unrivaled, and she also didn't win. Like, I don't even think her team made playoffs. And again, I'm not holding that against her because it's a different type of game.
I agree with you, Rachel, that their performance in Unrivaled shouldn't be held against them, but neither should it benefit them. Breanna Stewart didn't exactly set Unrivaled on fire the way people expected. Let's be real, she wasn't dominating, she wasn't in the MVP conversation, and her team didn't even make the playoffs. And yet, somehow, she's still ranked ahead of Caitlin Clark. Make it make sense.
But I think a lot of people were expecting Breanna Stewart to be in that MVP conversation in Unrivaled, and she wasn't. I don't think Breanna Stewart should be ahead of Caitlin, and I also don't think Alyssa Thomas should be ahead of Caitlin.
I totally agree that a different format can bring different results, but if we're not holding it against them, we sure as heck shouldn't be rewarding them either. 3-on-3 is not 5-on-5, and last I checked, the WNBA doesn't play half-court pickup ball. If Unrivaled doesn't matter when a player underperforms, then it shouldn't matter when we're hyping them up either. So why is Stewart getting a pass while Clark, who just had one of the greatest rookie seasons ever, is being bumped down the rankings? The inconsistency is wild.
When it comes to elevating your team, it's like, how much does that go into the MVP conversation? Are we just going to put these players' stats on paper and compare them in that sense? Or are we going to see how they're also impacting their team, elevating their teammates, and making their team better?
Let's be real, what even is the point of MVP if we're just staring at stats and not actually looking at who's making their team better? Are we just out here playing calculator, or are we paying attention to who's actually lifting their squad, making teammates better, and straight up changing the game? And honestly, Caitlin Clark is the only one doing both. She's not just putting up wild numbers for fun, she's out here making an actual difference. If that's not what MVP is supposed to be about, then what is?
I think it's a fine balance. I think it's a fine balance between the two. So it's a bit of a toss-up for me here with my top three, because Napheesa Collier, we got to see her play during the offseason, and I thought she did incredible. I thought her game was elevated. Her footwork is absolutely unmatched. Caitlin Clark, we did not get to see during the offseason.
That's right. While the rest of the players on the list were actually playing in the offseason, Clark, on the other hand, was working her back off in the gym and improving her overall game. Taking all of this into account, surely Clark would be considered in the top 3 conversation, right? Well, the mainstream media doesn't like that. In fact, this latest snub isn't anything new at all. Remember when ESPN tried to tarnish Clark's collegiate legacy by denying her a top spot in their college rankings?
So ESPN ranks the top 5 women's college basketball players of all time, and they leave Caitlin Clark off for the simple reason of not having a championship.
ESPN had recently released a ranking of the best women's college basketball players, and they had conveniently left out the rookie sensation Caitlin Clark. ESPN was seen throwing shade at Clark, and it turned out to be the biggest mistake they ever made.
What does it take to become a college basketball legend? Well, first, you got to get buckets. I think that's pretty undisputed. I think second, you got to be competitive, have that fire to drive your teammates, right? Third, but certainly not least, you got to win. And you got to win a lot.
According to ESPN, Caitlin was not included at the top because she didn't win any championships at college. I mean, just think about it. Caitlin Clark cemented her status as a legendary rookie and took her Iowa team to new horizons. But still, ESPN was not impressed. On the contrary, they were actively seeking to destroy her legacy as the greatest collegiate player of all time.
So they titled the video, "Is Caitlin Clark the greatest of all time in college basketball?" But then when you click into the video, it says, let's rank the top 5 women's college basketball players of all time. Now, when they were ranking the top 5 women's college basketball players of all time, they actually did not include Caitlin Clark in that top 5 list.
That's right. ESPN used her image as clickbait and removed Caitlin Clark from the list at the same time. If this isn't hypocrisy, I don't know what is. ESPN put Caitlin Clark on their video thumbnail because even they know that she's the best basketball player and happens to be the most popular among her peers as well.
They went on here to talk about her accolades and say she's done so much for the sport and how, the scoring title and all the records that she broke. She went to the national championship game twice and went on and on about that. But the reason they excluded her from the top 5 is because she did not win a national title.
Yep, ESPN is straight up being shady with this Clark snub because their whole reasoning is messed up to begin with. Let's be real, winning a championship is a team thing. No one player carries a squad to a title all by themselves, which is exactly why rings are awarded to teams, not individuals. And yet somehow Clark leading Iowa, a team that wasn't exactly stacked, to the finals doesn't count for anything. That alone tells everything you need to know about her individual talent.
There was a ranking of the top 10 basketball players of all time put out by ESPN, put out by SportsCenter, and guess what? Not all of them have championship. Okay, so you just really honestly can't make this up, as it seems like the goalpost for the best college basketball player has shifted as Caitlin Clark.
That's right, ESPN had a gripe with Clark because of rings, right? Well, turns out they don't have the same problem when it's someone other than Clark.
The reason that they removed Caitlin Clark from the conversation was because she does not have a championship. I just found a 4-year-old video from SportsCenter/ESPN where they did rank the top 10 college basketball players of all time. 6 of them are men, 4 of them are women, and get this, 3 of the men did not have any sort of championship ring.
The reason Caitlin Clark was removed from the conversation: no college championship ring. That's it. But here's the deal. Someone just dug up a 4-year-old video from SportsCenter on ESPN ranking the top 10 college basketball players of all time. 6 men, 4 women. And guess what? 3 of them didn't have a championship ring. The fact that ESPN is using this as the reason to knock Caitlin Clark out of the conversation is beyond ridiculous. It's straight up hypocrisy.
Number 5 on our top 10 college basketball players of all time, Oscar Robertson. Scored in each of his 3 seasons he played, averaged over 15 rebounds a game for his career, amassed 79 career double-doubles.
Okay, so this guy, no national championship.
Can you believe this? Their 4th pick for the best college athlete doesn't have a ring, but he's no Clark, right? As long as she's out of the picture, ESPN and the mainstream media can even pick a 70-year-old janitor for their elite rankings. It's almost like they have this agenda with Clark, and it will never stop because they only want to use her to promote other players.
Anyway, it was such a weird clickbaity on her. What the heck, ESPN?
The mainstream media has been disrespecting Caitlin Clark ever since her debut, and it seems like they are back at it. However, Rachel Demita has completely exposed their top ranking as a trashy marketing gimmick by bringing all the receipts. And to top it all off, Clark has already consolidated her status as the leading women's athlete in the WNBA, and that is something the fans would never forget.
That I think that Caitlin Clark deserves every single award that she has won this season, whether it be in the WNBA season. What she has done is so special and so well deserving, and that's why all of this noise around it, I can't even imagine what it's like being in her head.
So what do you think? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more basketball updates. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one.